top 100 athletes were announced. Will Johnson, the cornerback from Michigan, is a 96. Will Campbell's a 96. Gordon's a 96. James Pierce Jr. is a 95. Caleb Downs is a 95. Travis Hunter is a 95. He's a cover athlete. I can read off some of the quarterbacks here too. Carson Beck is a 93, and Shedeur Sanders is a 93. I think those are the two highest rated quarterbacks in the game. Dylan Gabriel is 92. Quinn Ewers is 92. Jalen Milrose is a 90. Jalen Daniels is a 90. Was kind of surprised, actually, that Quinshon Judkins was one of the top 10 rated players in the sport. I might have put somebody like Kelvin Banks ahead of him. I don't know.
It's high on Caleb Downs, too, from coming off just one season in college.
Yeah. Maybe they just did like a correlation between how much you're getting paid and what you're rated. I don't know. I don't know if Shedeur Sanders the best quarterback in college football? Are we saying, is that what we're saying? Are we accepting that?
Maybe. I mean,
okay.
Who is the best quarterback?
I guess what in the context of ratings, I guess what you're really saying is they think that he's the most talented quarterback in college football. Do you guys agree with that?
Physically talented? Possibly. Yeah. He's really good. He's really physically talented, yes.
Yeah, there is a distinction. I think it's a good distinction, Max, of physical traits and who would be fun to play with in the game versus who's actually your number one pick. If I had the number one pick in college football, I'm not necessarily sure that I would even come close to picking Shedeur Sanders number one overall.
Would you take Will Johnson number one in that kind of a draft?
Yes. Yeah, or find the best defensive lineman.
Or Travis Hunter.
Or for video game purposes, Travis Hunter, and maybe in real life, Travis Hunter, because versatility on both sides of the ball and electrifying.
I was surprised he wasn't the number one player in the game, just because that guy is going to have extremely high ratings in all of the ratings between offense and defense, pretty much.
Yeah, I also think that he is probably my pick for best player in the sport. So I think those two things would be the same thing. James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee might be my number one pick. A game-wrecking end that can't be blocked is very attractive. Hunter is the number one receiver. We have to make sure we say that, but we're
ahead
just going
Luther
overall
Burden,
rankings.
Ahead of T-Mac. That I know that surprised some people.
Yeah, right. And you can go onto EA Sports website and filter through the players. Mason Graham is another one. If you go look at the two defensive studs on Michigan's team, just seeing this in the game, I think is a reminder that Michigan's not going to be a 5-win team this year. I think everybody just assumes that they're lost everybody and they're not going to be very good. They have two players that would be the best player on most other rosters. So, did you see the video this week of Donovan Edwards absolutely cooking? That Michigan's, I think, still going to be pretty fun to play with. I didn't think there was a bunch of crazy omissions in the top 100. There was only 8 quarterbacks, which I thought was a little bit surprising. And it made me wonder, Cam Ward, Cam Rising, Riley Leonard. There's a few guys, Noah Fafita for sure. Guys that you're kind of all right, I wonder, I'm sure they're probably rated pretty high, but not in the top 100. JTT for Ohio State was not in the top 100. That surprised me a little bit. But Buckeyes got a lot of representation. I feel like they are going to be the team that is just the most unfair to use in this game. But that's also me being just an adoring fan of the Chip Kelly playbook. So I think you're going to really be able to cook with that team.
Yeah, I think a few things stood out to me. Am I the only one who's surprised that the 3 cover athletes were not all in the top 10? Quinn Ewers is not in the top 10 of these ratings, and Donovan Edwards is number 49 in the ratings. So one of the 3 cover athletes is basically in the middle of the pack of the top 100. Not to say it's bad; he's rated 91, which is very good. But I would have anticipated all the cover athletes being 95 plus. So
it's funny too, because one of the best players in the entire game was not the cover athlete, and his teammate was. They're on the same team, and the same thing too with Shedeur Sanders. He's best players in the game, and Travis Hunter's on the cover. But so I think Travis Hunter's actually rated higher. But it is interesting because marketability versus who would be most fun to play with is great. But I look at this list, guys, and I see Jalen Daniels as a 90, and anybody who's watched that guy healthy cook salivating over playing with him in the game. And I don't know, Caden Salter is another player. I don't know how much people watch Liberty. We do because we're sick, but if you're listening to the show, you might not have watched them a lot. He is somebody who I thought could have been like the starting quarterback at Oregon or Ohio State this year, like when the portal opened, and he stayed at Liberty. That's a really, really fun one. And Jalen Milroe is another one. He's a 90, and he's got 91 speed and pretty high strength. Like, that's going to be a pretty tough player to stop in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a lover of dual threat quarterbacks, yeah, that's you got some great ones in this game. You hope they get the playbooks pretty right. Like Liberty, for example, running the Jamie Chadwell offense. Like, I think that's going to be a lot of fun if they got some of the wrinkles that they use in real life there. And I think the other thing, looking at the top 100, there's not like a bunch of superstars missing. Like, obviously the opt-in rate on this game was incredible.
Luther Bird not being in the top 10 bothered me, because when you talked about number one pick, if you're picking one player in college football to draft, Burden would be in the conversation for number one. He was number 11, so it wasn't like he was majorly snubbed, but I was surprised that he wasn't in the top 10. He's the best receiver in the country, in my opinion. Shamar Turner, of omission, Shamar Turner from Texas A&M would be one of mine. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the country. So that was one. But my favorite thing to look at on these things was the speed ratings, and I went and looked at Harold Perkins' speed rating, 92. Yeah.
Oh,
92,
no.
Which is the same, by the way, same as Donovan Edwards. So guess what? If you've got Harold Perkins, you're playing with LSU, you don't have to be Brian Kelly. You don't have to deploy him at the middle linebacker. You can go do what you want let Harold Perkins hunt.
You know, you say 92 speed, Sam. I cannot wait to drop that guy into coverage. It's going to be so fun.
It's just I could not think of anything worse. But are you?
Well, it depends on how do you play. If you're like a rover kind of team, like I always like drop defensive ends and drop linebackers and try. Like, my online name since the game came out is a user pick 45. That's been my that's a USERPIK 45. Come get the smoke, baby.